Hello everyone and welcome to Spoiler Warning. This is your place for wrestling news, exclusive news you can't find anywhere else, and breakdown and analysis that you cannot get close to anywhere else. Our top stories today: The Rock, his creativity and the limit to it. How Triple H is using The Rock when it comes to WrestleMania and the lower card. We're going to talk Vince McMahon and the control that he still has over WWE and TKO. We're also going to examine in a bit more detail how that control might still be being used and the perception of wrestlers about how involved Vince McMahon might still be, including a conversation as to how much leverage Vince McMahon may have over The Rock. We're going to talk Paul Heyman and his appearance in the Hall of Fame. We're going to talk Liv Morgan and how she's being used in the lead up to and after WrestleMania. And we're going to talk Mercedes Money, her upcoming debut for AEW, and how she is being perceived. So, a couple of questions I immediately ask. I've just read out the headlines. Let me know in the chat which story you are most interested in. That's something that really helps me work out what future videos to do. And also, we are aiming to get as quickly as possible 50 likes to really get this party started. There's plenty of you in here, there always is, and I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button so we can get the number up nice and quick. Before you know it, we'll have a room full of people, plenty of questions coming in, and I'm very excited for that. So we will start with our top story, and our top story is about The Rock, about Triple H, and about WrestleMania. Now, The Rock's position in the creative team leaves him very limited creative control. While he does have someone on the creative team, he is not himself booking storylines beyond the one, that being the one involving himself. The Rock's creative control is almost exclusively his own character. He has some say in the bloodline, but he is not the chief writer or the chief driving force behind the bloodline. That continues to be Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman continues to be credited as being the man behind the bloodline. When it comes to The Rock, he has certainly been involved in asking questions about the WrestleMania card, but only the actual main events, that being the tag team match and the match between Roman and Cody, have had any involvement from The Rock. Primarily when it comes to the main event, that The Rock tried to stop it from happening. So the actual control that The Rock has is essentially just limited to himself, and that does mean that Triple H continues to be able to book everything else around him, including Roman Reigns. For his part, Roman Reigns is believed to be happy with a more reduced role. I did report previously that he's starting to run out of dates, and The Rock in many ways has been brought in to replace that Roman Reigns influence and keep those numbers coming in. The Rock is ensuring that there is a continued long-term focus on the bloodline, even when Roman Reigns isn't there. As regards Triple H's involvement, Triple H is credited with controlling the situation very well. He's earned a lot of plaudits for how he's controlled a lot of egos here. He was stepped over by The Rock in order to create the Rock versus Roman match that they were intending to be the main event of this year's WrestleMania, but he is the one who convinced The Rock to back down and turn heel. Paul Heyman was also a part of that. Triple H at this point is using the name of The Rock to sell the big WrestleMania card, particularly the undercard featuring wrestlers such as Gunther, such as Logan Paul, and wrestlers that he's trying to bring up and make an entire program around. Wrestlers like, for example, Rhea Ripley. The Rock is drawing additional eyes to them, and Triple H is very happy to have him doing so, hence why for the press conference, Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch were heavily featured. Now, The Rock has no involvement in the undercard whatsoever. That's entirely Triple H's doing, meaning that Triple H is guaranteeing more viewers through his use of The Rock and ensuring that The Rock is used regularly on TV, particularly for people like Solo. He's confident that the main event scene will take care of himself, and he will take care of itself, and he will barely need to be involved in it for things to run smoothly and run with no issues whatsoever. Next up, we will be talking Vince McMahon. Only 19 likes so far. One more gets us to 20. Let's keep going with as many likes as we can get. I want to say thank you to everyone who's already joined us in the show. Hello, Age Car. Thank you, Brad, for watching. Hey, Juan. Age Car says, can't wait for the spoiler warning. Khalid said, let's go, my favourite show. On the Twitch side, Chris says, good evening, Tom. Welcome. Bailey says, hello, Tom, as well. Spider-Boss says, hello, Tom. I thought Vince didn't have any say in WWE, especially after he left the company. That is up next. Bailey, also, thank you for your offer earlier as regards Twitter. We will not always be streaming on Twitter, particularly because I don't make any money from Twitter, but I do make a little bit in ads from Twitch and from YouTube, so I'm very, very grateful to have people come over onto the YouTube. It is actually more worthwhile for people to watch on YouTube, but I run on both because it's your viewing habit and you're entitled to watch however you would like to. We will not always be going live on Twitter, but when I'm able to, please do consider dropping in there as well. Noob says hello. Welcome, Noob. Aled says, I hope everyone is okay. Had a few bad days, but I'm glad to be watching. Sorry you've had a few bad days, Aled. Hope everything's good. Matthew Johnson says, happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday to you. Spiderboss says, I wonder why the Blackpool Combat Club never lose in AEW. May have something to do with the fact that Jon Moxley is literally the highest earner in the company. David says, Vince, as regards the actual story that is of most interest to him. Daniel says, yo, welcome, Daniel. Alice says, the Triple H and Rock stuff. Sean says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Sean. King Azza says, hey, Tom, I fully expect The Rock will turn on Roman and Seth will turn on Cody at WrestleMania. I don't see either of those happening myself. I think it's a bit more straightforward because the big changes, big swaps and big swerves tend to be Vince McMahon territory. Triple H is not that interested in doing them. We have 3 times as many people currently watching, 65, as we have likes. Only a third of the people here have hit that button. If you can, please remember to hit that thumbs up. We have 24 at the moment. The more likes we get, the more people join, the more questions we get, the more information you get from this show. Razar says, I'm most excited for Mercedes news. Also like your recent video on her. It was great. Thank you very much, Razar. We will talk a little bit about that video shortly. We did do a WTF Wrestling on Mercedes money for anyone who's not already aware. Khalid is most interested in the Triple H Rock stuff. Matthew says, you say Mercedes money and I'm here. Absolutely. Always happy to hear it. Brad Becker says, the Triple H Rock stuff indeed. Spiderboss says, I know it's a nonsense Liv Morgan turning on Becky, but WWE king of nonsense. It is nonsense, and Vince McMahon was indeed king of nonsense. Vince McMahon is no longer booking the storylines, or is he? More on that shortly. Maggie says, always interested in all your stories, Tom. Thank you very kindly, Maggie. I appreciate you. You've been very vocal since joining, and that really helps our chat rate, and I appreciate you for that. Sean says, who do you think inducts Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame? Roman? More on that shortly. Khalid says, hey Brad, good to see you. I always like it when people jump in and say hi to each other. Thank you for that, Khalid. Bismo, very sorry to hear that. I'll do what I can to distract you. I know it's only an hour, but I'll do what I can, okay? HCar says, did you see WWE announce Paul Heyman? Yes, I did. That was one of the headlines. We will be covering it in more detail. Spiderboss says, I'm interested in how people in AEW see Mercedes money. More on that shortly. Maggie says, delighted. The wise man's finally getting in the Hall of Fame. Roger says, I got tickets for AEW all in Wembley. I can't wait to go. I went last year. I don't think I'm going to be going this year due to other concerns. Richard says, hello Tom, do you happen to know the tag title announcement Nick Aldis hinted at on SmackDown? I do not, but I would imagine it's something to do with the tag team championship match they're currently planning to book for WrestleMania. Maggie says, I know when Roman's out of the bloodline I won't care about it. Roman is the bloodline, not the Croc. Richard says, hello Tom, do you think Naomi or Jade have any set plans for Mania? They do have set plans for Mania. Jade does anyway. As I reported on Friday, Naomi came in very late in the day. The WWE did not have creative plans when she returned to the company, and because WrestleMania was so close, they haven't actually prepared anything for her. So at the moment, there are no creative plans for Naomi, hence why she lost so quickly at the Elimination Chamber and why she lost in order to build Tiffany Stratton. She's happy with that, and after WrestleMania, they'll have something kicking in for Naomi. Pete says Sting's entrance last night was sublime. It was indeed. A couple of good entrances last night. I enjoyed Julia Hart's. Sorry guys, I do get mini blackouts every now and then. Had a car crash when I was young. I got a dint in my head. I was 12. Spider Boss says, as much as I like Rhea Ripley, I think she needs to stay away from the Judgment Day. Fans want to cheer Rhea. As I've reported multiple times, when it comes to Rhea Ripley, there are 2. There is Judgment Day Rhea, there is Champion Rhea. Judgment Day Rhea is a heel, Champion Rhea is a face. Roger says, I got tickets for AEW All In. Can't wait to see the best thing in AEW, Timeless Toni Storm. She has done extremely well with this gimmick, and I'm really happy to see it. Marcel says, hi Tom and chat, how are you all? I'm doing very well, thank you Marcel. Everyone say how you're doing for Marcel. Rizal says, according to Fightful, Rock went really overtime on SmackDown. It really sucked seeing Damage Control segment be so rushed. It was what I was most looking forward to. The Damage Control segment wasn't necessarily rushed. The Bron Breakker part was. Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton lost a lot of time, but they did protect the Damage Control segment as much as they could. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you Leon, hope you are as well. And Cal says, hello Tom, hope you're well my mate. Doing very well, thank you Cal, thank you very much for asking and hope you're good too. Wiggly says, yo, 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 happy retirement to Sting. Indeed. Kelly says, I like the news you give us. I always believe in them, and so you should. I work very hard to present as much factual information as I possibly can. Richard says, hello, Tom. How are you and all? Doing very well, thank you, Richard. Wiggly says, is the sound out of sync for anyone else on Twitch? If we can do a check-in there on YouTube and on Twitch, is anyone else having problems with the sync of the audio? Please let me know if you are. Killian is very excited for 2K24 to play as Bray Wyatt. One says, hey Tom, remember when you reported that AEW was going to clear some of the mid-card bloated roster? SRS, the enemy, confirmed your report with Mike Santana departing. Go figure. Yeah, always nice to see big names in wrestling journalism confirming my reporting. And obviously mentioning my name while doing so. 29 likes, guys. One more to 30. Can you give me one more to get to 30? For channel members, there's going to be a fun thing to mention. Wait for that one. It's going to be ridiculous and horrible and so embarrassing, but I'm going to do it, and I'm nervous about it, but I think you'll love it. Caesar says, I believe Roman turns on The Rock, but at SummerSlam, where we get Cody versus The Rock. I maintain, I think what we'll see is The Rock turning on Roman, but after the match has finished. Richard says, the video yesterday was really good and informative. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Richard. The click-through rate on that one was immense. I'm getting addicted to those green arrows saying, oh yeah, this video is doing better than normal. Magnificent. But there's a reason I'm able to make videos like that, because I know the people who watch these videos will tell me, I'm interested in this. You should make videos about this. So if you guys are asking a lot of the same question, what that tells me is it's not spam in any way, shape or form. What it tells me is lots of people are interested in this. I should go research and make videos on this, because then people will watch it. So I really appreciate you guys telling me what's important to you. As a wrestling viewer, what is important to you? Spiderboss says, I think one of the things Triple H needs to improve is his swerves in storylines. Sometimes storylines in WWE seem predictable, certainly more so under Triple H, but I think that's also because they make more sense. Sean says, with the stipulations added to the tag match, now do you still see Rock and Roman winning? Yes, I do. Zane says, do you think Paul Heyman deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? More on that later, but absolutely yes. Maggie says, thank you, Tom. You're most welcome. Really enjoy your show and the hard work you put in. Much respect. Thank you kindly. There is a lot of preparation goes into these shows. A lot of scripting, a lot of research, a lot of research of the research, a lot of vetting as well. So I appreciate that people understand and respect that. Marcel says, I hope for Bray in the Hall of Fame as well. Paul really deserves it. Noob says it's about time we get some ECW representation for the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Leon says, random question, do you like the LED barricades and the LEDs around the ring? Pardon me. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Pardon me again. Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. They can be incredibly distracting, so I'd like them to not be everywhere. Yes, Roger, I'm indeed a fan of Timeless Toni Storm. I saw her wrestling in the very early days of her career, here in the UK when she was 18 years old, wrestling against Mickie James. It's amazing to see how far she's come. Caesar says, Paul's Hall of Fame induction present is Roman losing his title. Wouldn't go that far. Khalid says, I'm glad Sting won his final match. Thank you, Sting, the legend, the icon. Billy says, hello, Tom. No Coke tonight. Nope, it is purely orange juice tonight. And I thought I'd just clarify that you are referring to my drink. I have never done anything involving anything like that while streaming. I certainly haven't. Can't think of anyone who would be so ridiculous and so disgusting a person as to do that live on a stream. Couldn't think of anyone who's done that. H-Car says, any news on Rey Mysterio? He back, man. He came back on Friday. And he looks set to face off against Santos Escobar. I don't see that making the main card of WrestleMania. Pete says the 12-man battle royal last night was dire, but the rest was class. Ospreay match was world class. I saw the bruises, and also it's Will Ospreay. Man be a legend. Thank you, Chris. Sync's fine. David says the sync is fine. Chris is on Twitch as well, which is nice to hear. Brad says no problems. Matthew says good on YouTube. Lovely, fantastic. H-Car saying it as well. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. Always appreciate that. Firstly, it lets me know if there are any problems that I need to fix. And secondly, that chat rate go boom. And just like that, we have 77 people in here. It's the little things. It's the little things. And I really, really am grateful to all of you for playing along with my little tricks sometimes that really get it going. Ray says 1 hour and 50 minutes to play 2K24. Who's actually got 2K24 or is intending to get it? Are you going to be getting or have you already got WWE 2K24? Jason says much respect to Sting. Absolutely, Jason. Thank you for joining us. Wiggly says, could we see Sting appear back on WWE event for a guest appearance of sorts? I think the most likely scenario is if he's going into a Hall of Fame. Noob says, I'm impressed with the Dakota heel turn, but, and seems like Bayley, has no one left to ask for help. There was definitely a tease that Bayley would have help from Jade Cargill at the very least. King Azza says, hey Tom, if Roman wins at Mania, will that mean Cody's story is over? Nope, the story is never going to be over even after he wins. Ray says, the audio sync is fine for me on YouTube. Good to hear. And says, who would you like to see called up to the main roster from NXT? Roxanne Perez. I'm a big Roxanne Perez fan, and I really hope she gets more opportunities sooner rather than later. Spider-Boss says, I think Roman could turn on The Rock. Roman was angry when The Rock interrupted him. Unlike many people, I still think Roman wins at WrestleMania 40 Night 2. Juan says, also, thank you for always reporting accurate information. There's too many clickbait channels claiming they know the facts based on their feelings. Very true, and something that I definitely see. I try my best to present a show free of clickbait, free of hyperbole, where I say, this is what's happening, this is my opinion, but that's not what's happening, this is what's happening. I think I'm incredibly proud. I'm incredibly proud of my reporting as regards damage control. Every single beat since May has been accurate, and I'm incredibly proud of that. Bismo says, last week wasn't able to keep up with Raw and SmackDown. Tonight, hope to watch Raw without interruptions. Ray says, do you agree with someone on X saying Sting was overrated? Not on your life. Spider-Boss says, Tony Storm versus Deonna was that damn good. This is what happens when the women's division get TV time and good booking. More on that shortly. Clyde says, hope all is well with you, Tom, and all in the chat. Like button is pushed. Let's all follow suit. Now time for push-ups. Enjoy, Clyde. This is, of course, a show you can listen to as a podcast if you'd prefer while doing other things. Clyde chooses push-ups, and you know what? All power to you. Chris says, only person Bayley can trust is herself. That has unfortunately been proven true on many occasions. Aled is buying 2K24 in May. H-Card's getting it in July or June. Brad is having issues with his PS4, apparently. Andy's going to get 2K24. Khalid already ordered it. Thank you, Wiggly. I didn't necessarily mean the WWE Hall of Fame. Marcel says, I ordered 2K, will arrive on Friday. Chris says, I pre-ordered my copy, however, due to money issues, I was only able to get a standard edition, so I'll be playing it on Friday. Yeah, they come out at different times, don't they? I wasn't prepared for that. Wiggly says, I think maybe he might come back to induct a friend like Lex Luger. Could be a good shout. Rosal says, haven't played a video game in years. I'm going to get back into it when GTA 6 comes out. Fair enough, and I can't blame you for that. Ray says, I pre-ordered 40 years of WrestleMania of WWE 2K24. Chris says, I'm getting my copy, 2K24, 40 years of WrestleMania tomorrow or Wednesday. And King Azza says, I'm getting the 40 years of WrestleMania edition. Once again, guys, just asking that question and seeing you answer it boosted the chat rate. And because it boosted the chat rate, we've gone up from about 60 people here to about 90 people here. Hello, everyone who's just joined us. Next piece of news is as regards Vince McMahon and the control he is exerting still on the WWE. So, for all 93 of you currently watching, we had 44 likes. One more gets us to 45. And just like that, we are on the road to 50. I love 50. It's a big round number. So, while I'm diving into what's going on with Vince McMahon, I'm going to roll my sleeves for this one. While I'm diving into what's going on with Vince McMahon, please remember to hit that like and let me know your feelings on this one, because I have a feeling many of you will have passionate reactions. Vince McMahon still has 25% shareholder voting rights in TKO. Despite having sold off considerable capital already. These are Class A shares, which means he does have an element of control over voting that shareholders have. Now, this does not mean he has the power to step in and change creative. Far from it. But the actual voting power that he has is not the only option that is available to him when it comes to leveraging control. Now, while he has retired from his employment and his position in TKO, that is not the end of things. That is not the end of the situation. Vince McMahon is riddled through that company, and while big names who always supported Vince McMahon, like a Kevin Dunn, have left the company, there are still plenty of people there who are dancing to Vince McMahon's tune, or at least are believed to be dancing to Vince McMahon's tune. Vince McMahon still has considerable say in company operations. TKO, which of course oversees WWE and oversees the UFC. And he has been known to leverage that impact with other shareholders for a larger say in decisions. It is a publicly traded company, which means that he is able to convince people to vote in his interests if he so wishes. Now, there are some in WWE, and I'm increasingly hearing this, who believe that Vince McMahon is still having a direct input in WWE programming and creative through other people who still work in the company, such as Bruce Pritchard, as mentioned by Ronda Rousey, and others who by and large are involved in the production side of the WWE. So while Triple H has brought in a lot of his own people, there is no guarantee that he's been able to clear out what he was intending to clear out. To be clear, the actual clear out of Vince McMahon focused members of staff has already started. They just need to make sure that they are 100% having accurate reasons to let people go. They cannot say, we think you're doing what Vince wants you to do, so go away. They can't fire people for that. I asked a number of people directly if they believe that Vince McMahon has any influence on The Rock. Now, as I've said, The Rock's creative control only goes as far as his own character. But when asking the question to a number of people, one source reminded me that The Rock bought the XFL from Vince McMahon. There's also a number of other different business ventures that they engaged in together. Vince McMahon for a long time profited from the phrase The Rock, which was obviously a phrase that The Rock used pretty often for his entire movie career before he started using Dwayne Johnson more popularly. There is evidence from a number of sources that The Rock and Vince McMahon, at least for a long time, had a very tight business relationship. A number of people believe that that is still the case. And this, of course, does mean that The Rock may have some input being fed to him from Vince McMahon. Okay, so I've been digging on that one for a long time. That's the first piece of news I've been able to really confirm about it, but I'm glad to be able to do so. I take great pride in being able to report things like that so that you know what is happening at a company that you support by watching it. So it's one of those, I know it's not, oh, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this person's guilty, that person's guilty. I have to be careful with what I say and about whom, but I'm very proud of what I've been able to report there. Sean says, Becky talked about her match with Shayna in WrestleMania 36 in her book. Becky said she wanted to put over Shayna not because of her child, but because she was the babyface champion for a long time and felt fans were turning on her, ultimately felt WWE needed to make more female contenders. I reported at the time, the months before, so the February before that year's WrestleMania, I reported that Becky Lynch was planning to have a break from the WWE, which she had immediately after WrestleMania. Her plan, she didn't know she was pregnant at the time, as she has said herself in an interview with, I believe, Variety. Her plan was to lose to Shayna Baszler, take a considerable period of time off, and then come back as the Avenging Force as a heel. Grayson says, hey Tom, who else do you think will get into the Hall of Fame this year? Triple H has done in fact, no. Let me save that one because that is our next piece of news about the Hall of Fame. Spider-Boss says, it's amazing WWE never was able to give a good booking and a character to Tony Storm. Tony Storm in AEW has been fantastic. I wholeheartedly agree. What I will say is that Tony Storm never pitched this character to the WWE. She did pitch it to AEW, and I'm very glad that they went with it. Ed says pre-ordered and streaming 2K24 40 years tonight. For those who would like to check out an early look at 2K24, Ed Fries does indeed stream. Now, Ed, I don't believe that you stream on YouTube as of yet. I believe you mostly stream on Twitch on your own channels. Let me know if I'm wrong. And hey, Ed, plug your work, all right? Plug it. If you're going on a stream for WWE 2K24 tonight, there's plenty of people on here who may be interested in that. Advertise yourself. I give you permission. It's not like you haven't given me plenty over the years, mate, all right? Dive in. I made you cry. Juan says, I pre-ordered 2K24 game. Fight Forever really disappointed me. Selvig says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. Heard just now Santana has been gone from AEW. Do you think he will join TNA or WWE? I don't think he'll join WWE. Interest is believed to be relatively low on Santana. The WWE can pick and choose who they hire, and they are confident that they only need to hire names that they believe can be future top-level champions. People in WWE do not believe Santana is ready for that push. What I will say, Selvik, this does confirm what I've been talking about, an AEW clear-out, which I mentioned we were going to hear about in the coming days during Friday's show. This is the first of many. We will be hearing more names as things develop. Spider-Boss says Daniel Bryan was screwed many times before winning the big one in WWE. Why Cody has to win now? Because he has technically been screwed before. Koo says, did Andrade return too late for Mania plans to involve him? Yes, he did. They are considering options to get him involved, but at the moment, much like Naomi, he returned late in the day. The WWE already have everything lined up for WrestleMania, apart from now Gunter, because they've had to make some changes there, and obviously what's happening with the main event. But Andrade may miss out purely because of that. The creative team is still working on plans for him. I wouldn't be worried. Brad reacts by saying, just go away, Vince. Roger says, were you a fan of Kevin Dunn in WWE? Nope, he made me dizzy all the time. It says, days like this I miss our bad Vince command in Twitch. It would be in bad taste now. It would be in really bad taste now. That said, it certainly was very popular for the time. Spider-Boss says, I remember Ronda said Bruce Pritchard being in WWE means Vince still has some power. I've been digging since then. Khalid said, just go away, Vince McMahon. Just stay retired. Invincible indeed, wow. HCar says, hope someone buys the 25% of TKO from Vince so he can go away forever from TKO. At this point in time, he doesn't seem willing to sell because TKO is still paying him a hefty profit based on how well WWE is doing. Maggie says, Cena and The Rock are definitely dancing to Vince's tune. Company men through and through. I've always maintained as long as Vince is breathing, he'll have some control over the company. I found that very likely. I also find it very telling that even if Brock Lesnar wasn't named in the affidavit, which technically he wasn't, I still think he'd have vanished from the company. Maggie says, I believe that completely about the Croc. They're in cahoots. Brad said, it's a little disgusting and I lose a little respect for The Rock if true. Once again, this is just what I'm hearing at this point in time. Roger says, do you think WWE or AEW will hire Scott D'Amore? WWE definitely will not. AEW quite possibly will. They're actively building a creative team at this point in time, which I'll detail a little later. Eric says, hi Tom, what do you think is the reason that they chose to have Becky beat her? Who's her? Ed says, yes, Twitch only, twitch.tv/EdFries, pardon me, /EdFries 2002. So if you're interested in watching some 2K content with someone who's a regular, a mod, and a bit of a hero on this channel, Ed might be your guy. Richard says, I really hope Victoria will get in the Hall of Fame this year. Sable deserves it, but I highly doubt she'll get in. Brock has definitely made sure that that does not happen right now. Sean says, do you see Becky defeating Nia tonight? That will be mentioned in the Liv Morgan segment. T Fresh says, I'd like to see Cody tell Seth to step aside and select Cena as his tag team partner. That will not be happening. Billy says, I'm not surprised about the Vince news. He didn't get this far by playing fair. Very accurate, to be fair. Very accurate. Selvik says, is Ricky Starks part of that clear-out? At the moment, Ricky Starks is still under AEW contract. Tony Khan is not a fan of actually firing people. His big preference is essentially not to rehire them because he believes that firing people is what Vince McMahon does, so he would never do it. It has cost him a lot of money, unfortunately, but it has kept a lot of wrestlers employed, which is not unfortunate and a very good thing for them. I think a lot of contracts that are planned to be ending in 2024 will not be renewed. Maggie says, shame, Santana's a great worker. Also says, love Andrade, and Brock deserves to be banished. Zane says, who do you think is the nicest man in WWE? Cody. It's definitely Cody. Only met him briefly. It's Cody. Nope, that's not Cody. I haven't met Cody. No, haven't met Cody. Spider-Boss says, a yes movement put Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania. Fans whining and put Cody back into the main event of WrestleMania 40. Triple H put Cody Rhodes back into the main event. In every way, you Ed, and you know it. Andrew says, hello Tom, sorry I'm late. No need to be apologising. Enjoyed Sting's last match last night. Incredible tribute of his sons dressing up as his old gimmicks back in the old WCW days. Can't wait to play 2K24 tonight. HCar says, do you think The Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth will happen at WrestleMania? Yeah, night one, main event. Eric says, what do you think is the reason WWE had Becky go over Shayna? I have absolutely no idea. Neither does Becky, neither does Shayna. Noob says, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Cody's next move is after the huge announcement from The Rock on SmackDown this past Friday. 1 like away from 50, guys. If you can, please consider doing so. We briefly touched 99 viewers there. A couple more likes will get us to 100. If you haven't yet done so, if this is your first time here, please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. We do spoiler warning every Monday and every Friday with different wrestling news each time. Exclusives, as I mentioned, that you cannot find anywhere else. And hopefully this is stuff that you guys enjoy. We also do WTF Wrestling, which is my investigative journalism show. We'll talk about it a bit later. And PLE Wednesdays, where we just look ahead right now to WrestleMania. Before we get to the next piece of news, I want to send a few thank yous. I always like to thank people who help the channel, who share about the channel, who try to bring people into the channel. And as you might expect, my Twitter has been doing very well recently. There's been a lot of quote tweets and the like. Also, I made a tweet earlier, response to Triple H, that is now on 42.5 thousand views, which is nice. But I want to send a specific thank you today to 2 people who recently just decided to have a conversation about how great I am, apparently, on Twitter. I want to thank Ross and I want to thank Brad. You guys have been particularly strong cheerleaders recently. You've really been putting me over, and I've seen my follower count on Twitter rising. I know I said on Friday I'm doing really well on Twitter at the moment, and I am, and I'm very, very happy with that. A large part of that is people like yourself, Ross, and like yourself, Brad. People who are constantly engaging with what I create, people who are sharing, and people who are just talking about me. Suddenly people are talking about me. And that isn't something I'm used to. I know a lot of you are helping, and I want to thank all of you as often as I can. Just this once, I want to thank Ross, and I want to thank Brad in particular. Our next piece of news is Paul Heyman. He is the first name going into the Hall of Fame for 2024. This does not confirm his retirement, but it does feel a long time overdue. I expect he's going to have a very long speech here, and he could genuinely be the first ballot name, the top name for the entire year going into the Hall of Fame, the big speech, and the guy who stands in the middle. I think he earned it, I think he deserves it, and I think he should absolutely milk it for all that it is worth. I also think we have to give Triple H immense credit. He is working extremely hard right now to keep information quiet. Kudos to him for another success, particularly after the Sean Spears success, at keeping information quiet and making sure it doesn't get out to the wider community. You are seeing areas like PWInsider, Fightful's Paywall, Wrestling Observer, not having as much information or getting things wrong more often. And honestly, I've got to say, that's all down to Triple H, who he's sharing with, who he trusts. He's catching people, and he's making sure they don't know going forwards. Now, I'm working extremely hard, as you guys know, to keep the information flowing, particularly about things like damage control I've been talking about for a long time, Becky versus Rhea. I've been keeping you as up to date as possible as regards The Rock, the Vince McMahon situation. I'm working extremely hard on this. However, if Triple H continues doing this good a job, I might be out of business. And honestly, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. Noob says, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Cody's next move is after the... I've already read that one. Maggie says, Defo Cody's nice. Love Pharaoh too. Beautiful dog. Sean says, I do believe you about Triple H not wanting to fire people. I bet if he had his way, Mandy Rose would still be a part of WWE. I can confirm that would be the case, yes. Richard Smith says, I've met Cody and Finn, both were absolutely legends. It's always a risk meeting your heroes. Always a risk. Over the years, I hope to meet some of you in person. That's really the dream. I think I've only met a couple of you so far. Yes, I see you, Martin. I've met you. I really enjoyed our conversation in a Starbucks. But it was really quite fun. It really was. So it's one of those things. There's a big risk to meeting your heroes. I'm not anyone's hero, but I'm hoping to meet some of you guys because you guys are making my channel happen. Kind of heroes to me, you know? Bailey says, how far down the WrestleMania card is the Bailey versus Io match falling? Seems to be getting no hype at this point. I think it'll be in sort of slap bang in the middle of one of the nights. It's unfortunate, but The Rock is The Rock. Razar says, AEW got a new pay-per-view called Dynasty next month. When do you think they'll move to a streaming service for pay-per-views? Paying $50 every month is a big ask in the age of streaming. I don't think they will. They would need a new deal in order to do so. Juan says, hey Tom, do you believe Will Ospreay can draw some casuals like Mercedes money, or is this water under the bridge? He can absolutely draw casuals, but it depends whether or not he's marketed properly. A large issue that they have, and you'll have seen this from the Mercedes money video, is self-promotion. Not enough people are doing it, basically. Spider-Boss says, Triple H went from mocking the fans complaining on social media with his Me and My Friend Mark promo to now fearing fans' negative reaction after trying Roman vs. Rock at WrestleMania 40. Nope, not even close. The Rock wanted Roman versus The Rock. Triple H wanted Roman versus Cody. Triple H used the reactions, used social media, and got what he wanted. In no way was he fearing anything. Andrew says, do you think they'll have a special Mania moment like the time at Mania 30 when they had Hogan, Steve Austin and The Rock in a segment? Would really love a segment between Sting and Taker, but I doubt it happens. It would not happen, no. Alex says, you mentioned on Twitter you'd have CM Punk news for WrestleMania. Is that still the case? I've been in and out, so sorry if you have announced it. I did not announce this as a headline, but yes, there's a little bit of additional CM Punk news for WrestleMania. Firstly, Squid, welcome to the show. Thank you very kindly for a very generous donation. Very much appreciated. Donations like that keep the lights on this channel, as well as ensuring that I can advertise further and continue to grow. So thank you very kindly, Squid. The CM Punk news at WrestleMania is quite in-depth, and I needed to cover the Heyman news before going into it. Now, firstly, before I jump into this, who do you think should induct Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame? Let me know who you think will be the right person in order to induct Paul Heyman. There's a number of possibilities. I've got my eye on CM Punk for this one. There is talk of CM Punk being involved at WrestleMania. I've mentioned it previously, I've got my eye on him working with John Cena, but there is also talk of CM Punk and The Rock engaging in some manner. The intention essentially is that The Rock is interested in another program with CM Punk. CM Punk is believed to be interested as well, that they are hoping that it goes a different way this time. The kickoff point would be WrestleMania. They also want CM Punk on the kickoff panels, essentially to interview other wrestlers. They like the idea of having him backstage as a regular roamer and just popping up every now and then to remind everyone that he's still there. The WWE have invited him to WrestleMania. They want to make sure he is there to basically ensure that he does not vanish in any way, shape or form. I expect that we'll see CM Punk heavily involved at WrestleMania. Juan says, round two of applause for the two people on Twitter that put Tom over. Thank you, Juan. Roger says, I met Bailey when she was a babyface in London. It was a meet and greet. Brad says, it's not a problem, Tom. I want to help in any way that I can. You actively are helping, Brad. Thank you. Sean says, do you think the announcement about the tag team titles that they're getting split up finally? I find it unlikely. More likely, I suspect that they are just starting to work out how they will be used at WrestleMania. Selvig says CM Punk was a secret too. Indeed it was. I could only really say at the time what was happening. My Friday show before it happened, CM Punk to WWE, no question mark involved, was indeed the thumbnail. And I very much enjoyed that, because in the last few days things did change, and I'm glad that I was able to at least start reporting about those things. Khalid says, I met Bray Wyatt in 2018 when he was tag team champion. Was a nice man. Thank you, Bray. Hector says, had Brock not put himself in the positions he's currently in, I think he would have been the obvious name to induct Heyman. See, I disagree with that, primarily because Brock speeches. These things do not come together at any point. Chris says, a little fun fact, Paul Heyman is the first manager to get top billing in the WWE Hall of Fame. He does have legendary status, and so he should. Maggie says, Paul's speech will be the best ever. I'd also love Roman to induct, my favourite dynamic duo ever. They work so well together. Personally, I lean towards Steve Austin. Aled said, with Jade Cargill appearing on SmackDown, do you still think she faces Nia at WrestleMania? I don't anymore. More on that shortly. It would be good to meet you as well, Khalid. HCar says, I think Bray Wyatt should be inducted into Hall of Fame. He deserves it. I'd be interested to know who you want to induct him as well. I imagine Braun Strowman's the obvious choice. Spider Boss says, some Chilean friends met the role models in live events of WWE in 2016. My friends said Mercedes and Bayley were super friendly. They always are. Martin says, it was a pleasure, mate. Better than me. 2 fans asked me for a photo yesterday at a game and I went bright red on a derby day as well. We should have got a photo, mate. We should have got a photo. We should have gone bright red with each other. It was fun seeing Omega Luke get that treatment recently. That was quite fun. Q says, what is Bryan Danielson's place in booking in AEW? More on the AEW booking team shortly. Khalid says, I wonder who'll be next to go in the Hall of Fame. They are still keeping it relatively quiet. Then says, Tom, you're my hero. You expire me. I've not killed you, mate. I think you were going for inspire. I take it as a massive compliment anyway. Bailey says, it's amazing to think that Paul Heyman has been around so long. He worked with Vince McMahon Sr. Who do you have inducting him into the Hall? Personally, I have Steve Austin. Spider-Man says, I hope one day Becky explains why she accepted the squash of Bianca at SummerSlam 2021. She was called in relatively last minute to return at SummerSlam. They only knew that Sasha Banks wouldn't be there about 2 weeks before. As such, she wasn't fully fit or fully match fit, so they decided to go with that as a way to protect Bianca, start the storyline, but more importantly, protect Becky. Kuro, been a little while, mate. How you doing? So I just saw all the glass flying into the crowd during Sting's match last night, and I'm wondering how liable is AEW for crowd injuries? More liable than you would think. Wiggly thinks Roman Reigns should induct Paul Heyman, or CM Punk, or Rob Van Dam. Chris says Bayley is my hero. Selvig wants CM Punk to induct Paul Heyman. Maggie wants Roman. Pardon me. Aled wants CM Punk or Roman Reigns. Spider-Boss says Brock can't appear. I think Roman should induct Heyman. Eric says, hi Tom, hope you've had a great day. Regarding Logan Paul, seems that every WWE wrestler who's on his podcast ended up facing him in a feud. It has become a little predictable. The man essentially can decide who he works with, but it's not just about him. Rosal says, I think it should be CM Punk. Martin has Tommy Dreamer. One would have said Brock Lesnar, but will say Undertaker or Punk instead. HCar wants CM Punk. Ed has Tommy Dreamer. Matthew says Dudley's. Wiggly says, could Undertaker be a good option? Yes, I think so. Jack says Roman. Crow says Curtis Axel. Brad says, I think Punk would be the best bet. Grayson says, I hope Bray is included in the Hall of Fame in some way. Wiggly says, I met Io in London last year. She was so friendly. Selvig says, is Stone Cold going to be at Mania 40? Likely, yes. He has been invited. Technically, though, more often than not, he will turn up purely as a guest. Mine says, a little dangerous alliance for Tom. Maggie says, forgot about Austin. How dare you? Wiggly says, or The Rock or Austin inducting Heyman would work. You've got 5 options there, mate. 5 options. Eric says, do you think an ECW guy like RVD inducts Paul? Worth pointing out, ECW closed more than 20 years ago. No, Wiggly, I was not. I did tell you I wasn't going. Hector says, Jade versus Dakota is a match I'd like to see for Jade, especially if they're sort of involved with damage control. We'd need to build up a little more to get there, but I do think it's possible with the tease that they did. Luke says, do you think The Rock is turning on Reigns on night 2 Bloodline Rules match? I do not. I think he'll turn on him after the match. Roger says, do you think Hornswoggle should be inducted into the Hall of Fame in the future? Not at this point in time. Kevin says, why did WWE never do a Hall of Fame museum? Because they did not believe it to be profitable. Alice says it would be cool to see The Rock and Stone Cold face-to-face one more time at Mania. Well, to be fair, if you're listening to Zero News, they had a stare down at the Royal Rumble last year. I know they didn't. I just wanted to throw in a dig. A couple of things I'm going to write down there. So, I'm going to write down about the chances of Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame. I'm going to do some digging there, because you guys are clearly very interested in that. So if I can make that happen, I absolutely want to. Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame. And I'm also going to write Rock turning on Roman. Might be good for a PLE Wednesday video because you guys are asking a lot of questions about that. So clearly you'll be interested in what I think. So I'm just going to write them down. Gilly said if Bray Wyatt is going to the Hall of Fame, Braun Strowman definitely puts him in. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. Thank you for the great stories. Will says it seems like SmackDown is getting all of the call-ups. Can you see Raw stars getting called up after Mania? Yes, I can. I do think that after WrestleMania we'll likely have another draft as well. We are one like away from 60. Can you get me over that line? One like away from 60. We're also so close to 100 viewers. That chat rate is doing wonders, and I thank you all for it. Maggie says, I think Bray's family is still grieving him. I'm not going to read the rest of that. You're absolutely right, though. You're absolutely right. The induction does not depend on what the fans want. A lot of it depends on what Bray's family wants. You make a very, very good point there, Maggie. Alex says, will Heyman not be able to talk about Brock Lesnar in his Hall of Fame speech or what's happening? He'll be allowed to talk about whatever the hell he wants to. Andy wants Tommy Dreamer to induct Paul Heyman. Maggie says, Brock only does his talking with his fists. Martin says, I won't mention the Darby Allin fall. I found it stupid, to be honest. I know it's probably working class, but wasn't for me. That's you not mentioning it. Kuro says, Heyman's new shirt referencing him as ECW owner is the first time it's being mentioned in an official capacity in nearly a decade. Alex Perez says, hey Tom, question about the Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame Warrior Award. There is no intention of the Warrior Award being Bray Wyatt. Not to my knowledge anyway. Martin says, you just know that acknowledged me to The Rock was a lead to something eventually. Sean says, bloodline rules can also go against the bloodline as well. Absolutely it can, and Jey Uso has made his feelings clear on that. Spider-Ball says, I think Rhea is like the new Charlotte, company's favourite girl that always looks good. The women's division is built around her. Yes. Razar says, is Jade going to SmackDown? That's surprising of all the new roster additions. Again, after WrestleMania, I can see a draft, so it doesn't really matter right now. Daniela says, if you think Rock turns on Roman after Roman's match, does that mean you think Cody finally finishes the story? Yes. Wiggly says, is William Regal Hall of Fame candidate? At this point, not that I'm aware of. I don't think he'd go in the same year as Paul Heyman. Zane, I'm 35 years old. Wiggly, you cannot speak for Bray Wyatt's family. Just going to be real clear on that one. Maggie says, Rock turning on Roman is definitely happening at some point. Yes, they are, Sean. They will be coming back this week. I've been quite busy. Alexa is indeed next up. So Alexa Bliss, she will have a Fun Fact Thursday this Thursday. Next week, after that, will be Mercedes Money. Number of the Devil, you have missed the Rock news, but it was right at the beginning of the show. Zip back right to the start, and you'll find it nice and quick. Wiggly says, Mick Foley will be a good person. HCast says, Tom, do you think Finlay will be in the Hall of Fame? Because I definitely deserve it. You definitely deserve it. Interesting. Brad, Alexa Bliss will not be doing any induction for Bray Wyatt. Alex says, Sylvester Stallone in the Hall of Fame candidate for the Celebrity Wing inductee. I don't think he's been that involved. Hector says, did you see Rock's new shirt, which is him slapping Cody in like a comic book style? I don't think that's Rock's new shirt. I think that's Cody's new shirt. Gotcha, Wiggly, thank you for clarifying. Danielle says, I'm genuinely worried about Randy's direction for WrestleMania, potentially winning a championship. Spider-Boss says, at this point, why do people keep betting against Roman? Because eventually he does have to lose. They said, will Tiffany Stratton have a match at WrestleMania 40? Watch PLE Wednesday and you'll get my thoughts on that one. Joe says, do you think John Cena will be at WrestleMania? I did mention that on Fridays. Spoiler warning, I do believe he will. Likely in a brief segment, possibly with CM Punk. Eric says, what's the next episode of WTF Wrestling? I've not worked it out as of yet. I've got a few days left to do it. And usually the research kind of directs me as to what I'll be doing. Next piece of news as regards Liv Morgan. Now, I know a lot of people are very excited about Liv Morgan news. Whenever I do Liv Morgan news, people tend to tune in. So let's talk about what's happening with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was brought back at the Royal Rumble with a clear intention to keep her near the top of the card. There is no intention to add her to the match between Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, but there is an intention to have her heavily involved after WrestleMania, potentially with Becky Lynch, potentially with Rhea Ripley. There is at this point no seeming indication for Raquel Rodriguez to be involved here, particularly because she did have another flare-up. So the focus is clearly on Liv Morgan. It looks like that heel turn might not be on Raquel Rodriguez anymore. Now at the moment she's playing spoiler to distract Becky Lynch from Rhea Ripley. Long term, I actually think we're more likely, looking at what we're seeing now, to have that turn happening against Becky Lynch. rather than Raquel Rodriguez. Because what I'm hearing is that the WWE want to keep Liv near the top. The easiest way to do that is have her working with Becky Lynch. Now, Becky versus Liv has been mentioned for after WrestleMania, and let's just say that Becky, as was mentioned earlier about Shayna Baszler, is in the habit of asking to lose. Becky Lynch is having a contract that expires after WrestleMania, and to my knowledge, she is looking to take a break after WrestleMania. Liv Morgan defeating her could be in the offing right after Rhea Ripley defeats her. So I do think as she's on the way out, Liv Morgan may clearly benefit from this. Triple H wants to keep eyes on Liv in much the same way as he has done for LA Knight. So while it will not immediately lead to championships, it will definitely lead to opportunities which will make people essentially watch her. Good news for Liv Morgan. The main push is still believed to kick in after WrestleMania, but they're keeping her busy, and Becky Lynch is believed to be her biggest fan and biggest supporter. After all, they did mention recently they're in a book club together. Alex says, give us a tease like a hint game of the Hall of Fame inductees, like a guessing game if you know any names. I don't, Alex. I don't. Triple H has kept these silent. Nobody knew. Nobody knew about these. And I gave them credit for that. I can't give you a tease. I don't know. Luke says, The Rock, Roman win night 1, and Rock turns on Reigns night 2. Eric is happy he made it just in time for the Liv Morgan news. Kuro suggests Lance Storm inducting Paul Heyman. Maggie says, oh god, not Liv, I'd rather see Pharaoh wrestle. Divisive. Spiderbot says, it wasn't crazy from my part to say have Liv Morgan turn on Becky, it can help Liv. Seems like not anymore. H-Car says, do you think Primo might return? No. Eric says, who's taking on the Kabuki Warriors for the Women's Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 40? There is still time, potentially, for things to come together for Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, but there are also plenty of other tag teams. John says, do you see Becky defeating Nia, or does Liv cause a DQ? Personally, for tonight's Raw, I see Liv returning the favour from Becky Lynch last week, involving herself in the match, fighting Nia Jax, and that will bring her face-to-face with Becky Lynch. Alice says, did you see Fightful reported Santana left AEW? Yes, nice to see Fightful confirming what I've reported in recent weeks about people starting to leave AEW. We've just hit 100 viewers. We have 65 likes. If you can, please remember to hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. We do spoiler warning every Monday and every Friday, and I'd be very grateful if you could come by and check it out as much as possible. We also, on Sunday, so just yesterday, released a video about Mercedes money, particularly about what Mercedes money is going to be tasked with in AEW. She essentially is in the position of AEW savior, and I detailed all of the problems that are currently facing AEW and also a lot of the solutions that Mercedes money can offer to those problems. If you're interested in that, please check it out. The video itself doing very well. It's all green arrows. So far, after just over a day, 526 views, an impression click-through rate of 4.3%, which is more than what I normally get. There was a brief period where I had a 13% click-through rate, meaning that 1 in 8 people who saw it were clicking on it and watching it. The average view duration also quite long, which means my retention rate is doing well as well. When you have good retention rate, YouTube tends to keep promoting your video for longer, which is why it's doing well. Long term, I think this will keep doing well, and I'm a very happy boy about it. As regards Mercedes money, she will debut for AEW very shortly, but the creative team that she gave recommendations for and that she distinctly asked Tony Khan to put together has already started work, both on her storyline and the storylines of others as they come out of a successful Revolution pay-per-view. The actual shows immediately after, and one of the reasons Tony Khan is hyping up those shows, have been largely put together by that creative team with Tony Khan overseeing. Now, the pressure is high on Mercedes to do numbers immediately, but Tony Khan is intending to present her as one of the top names in the industry from day one, and he is not intending to let up anytime soon. She has been promised the world, and to my knowledge, Tony Khan intends to keep that promise. The creative team which has been put together, not just for her, but in many ways because of her, is already actively working and parts are already moving for the first feud of Mercedes Money. AEW programming is already happening, which should tell you everything you need to know about the first few big matches for Mercedes Money. So, I'm interested to see how much you guys can see about what is happening at the moment, and how much you guys think, and what you guys think will be those first feuds for Mercedes Money. If you're a Mercedes fan, if you're not a Mercedes fan, if you're an AEW fan, if you're not an AEW fan, let me know who you think she will face first. Spiderboss says, do you think it's crazy if WWE pair Bianca and Jade to face the Kabuki Warriors at WrestleMania 40? It's not impossible. I know I've seen reports about that, but not from credible sources. I don't think it's impossible because Bianca definitely will get a match, and if they believe that Jade is ready, she will as well. Spiderboss says, with Saraya feuding with Ruby Soho, who do you think could be Mercedes' first rival? I've just been talking about that one. Then he says, Tia Hale is my favourite in NXT. Sovic says that WWE and AEW looking at TNA for potential signings like Mike Bailey or Josh Alexander. WWE and AEW keep their scouts primed and they will check out the competition, but that's as far as it goes at this point. Khalid says, I think tonight Cody and Seth accept the challenge from The Rock. I agree. H-Car says, Tom, do you see the Kabuki Warriors' defence at the Tag Team Women's Championships at NXT Roadblock? I did not see it as of yet, no. Jessica says, Tom, are you 100% for sure? Mercedes Money to AEW? Yes, I am. First to report it, I first reported this way back in October. And I first reported that she was planning to go to AEW right before she picked up her injury. We're talking about a long time before anyone else. I've got a great record on Mercedes Money. If you're not 100% confident, Jessica, I completely 100% understand. I implore you to check out my work on Mercedes Money, and I'm confident you'll understand and agree. HGar suggests Mercedes versus Julia Hart. Sovic says Money won't be hotshot in title picture. Instead, we'll have a first feud with someone like Serena Deeb. Alex says Serena Deeb has said she's the boss. Tony Storm called Wendy Richter out again last night, so I think these two will be first for Mercedes. Juan says Serena Deeb called herself the final boss. I believe that will be the first feud. Also, Collision had 5 women's segments for about 35 minutes. You can tell women are now involved in the creative team. Razar says Mercedes is my all-time fave. I'm going to be honest, not really excited for an AEW run. I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea, but I'll watch and support regardless. Richard says one feud I really want to see is Mercedes versus Diona or Mercedes versus Hikaru Shida. That will be match of the year. Juan says, watch Mercedes Money will also tell TK make AEW women's tag team titles. Quite possibly, yes. Why not? Spiderboss says, with Saraya feuding with Ruby Soho, who do you think could be... I've already read that one. Sean says, do you believe Mercedes takes the belt from Tony Storm? At this point, I'm not going to answer that one. Spiderboss says, I may sound biased for being Mercedes fan, which you own up to, and I appreciate that, but I think she is the draw that the AEW women's division needs. She put good numbers while she was in SmackDown. She did indeed. Carlos says Deeb for Money. Richard says Serena Deeb versus Mercedes Money will be amazing. Martin says, not an AEW fan, doesn't interest me, won't lie, but wish them all the best. And you're entitled to that opinion. Hector says, Tom, do you see Mercedes' contract being the typical 3-year AEW deal or something different? I do, though I do think long term we won't necessarily see her there every week. Kelly says Mercedes Money versus Saraya. Taylor says, late to the stream because of tax season here at the office. Can't blame you. Paying taxes is something I have to deal with every January as well, and they do not make it easy. Can't wait to watch this one back. By all means, Taylor, zip back and start watching from the beginning. That's absolutely fine. I am very glad to see you here. Jessica says, I check your work, Tom, but I don't want trolls to call you lie and continue disrespect. Appreciate that as well, Jessica. I see plenty of that from trolls, and I appreciate you checking it out regardless. Plenty of people in this chat, and I'm going to ask that. Jessica is not sure of my record, guys. If you're able to, if you've got the time, if you have the recollections, can you tell Jessica some reports that I have made that you recall that have been proven right? Big reports, small reports, whatever you can remember. If you can just think of something that you can tell Jessica that I reported accurately that will help assuage her mind, help her feel confident. I would appreciate if you're able to do so. Maggie says they may have jobbers with Mercedes in the first few matches like they did with Jade. Quite possibly, though I will say Mercedes Money versus, Mercedes Money and Jade Cargill, very different people. They will be pushed very differently. Luke says, are you drinking orange squash? Yep. I'm a basic bitch. Also, I need to drink less pop and more water. Genuinely worried. Genuinely worried. I'm not the healthiest man. I spent most of today doing some lifting and shifting, been helping someone build some furniture. And I got out of breath faster than I would have liked. Not only that, but I genuinely worked out a lot last month. And will definitely be continuing to do so. I don't feel great about my body right now. I'm going to be working on that. What I should do is bring back the squat challenge I used to do. Whenever someone did a gifted sub, either on Twitch, it was on Twitch that I did it, or on YouTube, I used to do 10 squats. And there are times I had to do 200 squats. Maybe I should bring that back, because I ain't fit, and my knees, not great right now. So maybe I should bring that back. Spider-Boss suggests Mercedes Money news, Bray Wyatt returning to the WWE, and Bayley's 2022 return all was first seen on Spoiler Warning. Spider-Boss says, to quote Saraya, every girl in WWE is good, but Mercedes is great. Mercedes can have a 5-star match even with a ladder. There are a lot of 5-star ladder matches, to be fair. Brad suggests the return of Bray Wyatt as well. Khalid says, do you think Adam Copeland returns soon on AEW? Yep. I would say so. One says, Tom reported AEW was the favourite to land, I imagine that's supposed to say money, before her injuries, that it wasn't about the money, but the use of the Mercedes Money name, which we're just now seeing come out. Richard said, Asuka ending Bianca's reign as Raw Women's Champion, EO cashing in at Survivor Series, Punk's return, Tom has been 100% amazing wrestling reporter. Did you mean EO cashing in at Survivor Series? I don't believe she cashed in a Survivor Series, but I did call EO cashing in. I also called EO and Damian Priest winning the match, but that's not necessarily something I give immense credit to. Andy says you got Bray Wyatt right, Cody winning the 2023 Rumble, Cody versus Seth as well, I do want to mention. Maggie says, yep, they are very different. I hate water. Bad at drinking Lucozade, very bad for me as a diabetic. Yeah, it really is. Really is. HCAS has definitely returned the squat challenge. Worried now. Spider-Boss says, SRS got so mad because I put you over with the Bayley news in 2022 and I got blocked by SRS. Yep, that unfortunately is going to happen. Some people really don't like it when people point out that I'm good at my job. Mine says, Mercedes Money news, Bray Wyatt return, Punk return, Edge to AEW. There is a lot like Aleister Black and Adrana? Back to WWE and the Bayley return. Andrade. Gotcha, Richard. Thank you. I just wanted to double check. And Khalid says, yeah, YouTube just gave me an advert. Thank you very kindly for that. And Sean says, Tom reported that Mercedes wasn't going to be at SummerSlam versus Bianca, and it got confirmed by Becky Lynch. I also reported the day before SummerSlam, Becky Lynch was there, and she'd been asked to bring her wrestling gear. Just wanted to share that one. Taylor says, you reported on Drew's potential deal before I saw anyone else do so. Thank you, Taylor. Yes, particularly reporting that it wasn't about money for Drew either. He wanted championships. He wanted to be pushed to the very top. And that's exactly what we're now seeing reported elsewhere. I hope that's put your mind at ease a little more, Jessica, and I hope that anyone watching who is relatively new to this also recognises I really try and work hard to be as accurate as possible. If you've not yet done so, please consider subscribing, and you can support the channel in a multitude of ways. If you are considering it, please consider becoming a channel member. That is a minor financial support. There is a $1 a month option or a $5 a month option. There's also a $25 a month option, but let's be fair, we're not going to be doing that. The idea for the members only thing long term, as they continue to increase, I also increase the amount of members only videos. So, Let's catch up with the chat before I talk about this one. Spiderboss says, Mercedes Money taking time off due to mental health in 2019. You said first, and Mercedes said after on her WWE Chronicle. She did confirm that, and I appreciate you reminding us of that as well. Khalid says, I've been here since 2022. I believed you when you said Bray Wyatt returning to the WWE. And then a month later, that is exactly what happened. I'm going to be making a members-only video this week, probably tomorrow, in which I attempt to make a viral YouTube short. Now, I've been thinking about this. The shorts that I do have a very short shelf life. Okay? So I'll create a short, and it's a bit of news that's important, for about 10 minutes. The shorts that I do, which aren't that, for example, about the crowd welcoming Triple H in Australia, they do great. They do great. So I'm trying to think of something which long-term will be entertaining. Thank you very much, Mr. Young. Thank you very kindly for subscribing on the YouTube side. Welcome to the show. You'll get notifications whenever we go live. So I've come up with something that's terrible. And as such, I have to do it. That really harks back to those days on Twitch that some people really enjoy. I'm going to make a tutorial video on how to be The Rock. Yep. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through some of my notes now as to what I'll be saying in this short. So, how to be The Rock, and I've put down a few dumb jokes. For example, most people don't believe you can be The Rock. These people are quitters. Smell something. Not something bad. Something worse. That's what The Rock is cooking. Move head in circular motion. A lot of that. When you're talking about if you smell, I've nearly hurt my neck doing that. Also just cock the eyebrow instead of raise the eyebrow. Cock it. Now, this is not going to be easy to record. I'm going to be recording it on my phone. And I'm going to record a members-only video, including all the outtakes of me doing that while I'm doing that. If that's something that interests you, please consider becoming a channel member. If you want to see me embarrass myself in every possible way, please consider becoming a channel member. Spiderboss said, does Roman have any say on when he drops the title? Some, not really. Thank you, Maggie. Maggie says, thank you, Tom, for all you do. Brad says, Tom also likes more than one source to be used if bringing in new info into our chat. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding us of that. HCard, nothing on Impact today. Taylor says, real wrestling news without clickbait or spin here, and it's available for free. Yes, I take huge pride in that. We are free. No paywalls. My intention long-term is to do members-only live streams, but that won't be exclusive news. That will be conversations. That will be answering questions. That will be dumb stuff like how to be The Rock. It'll be access. Funny, Martin. Maggie says, I love shorts. Sure, I'll enjoy yours immensely. Also says, The Rock will buy you a house. Hector says, don't forget to talk about pie. Pie. I'm just going to write down pie. He liked his pie. So Martin wants people to see that. Martin really wants people to see that video of me embarrassing myself, hopefully for clicks. It's a short, it's okay, it's not clickbait, it'll actually be fun, I think, but I still want people to click on it. I'm still aiming for viral, and if it doesn't work, it's going to be horrible. But now Martin's just guaranteed more people are going to see it, so thank you massively, Martin. Like, I'm taking the piss, as you realise, but thank you hugely. Your contribution and your generosity has always warmed my heart and made me feel very valued. Thank you. He has gifted 5 channel memberships. They go to Andy Barr, Steve Engblom, Ed, Russell Brown, and Chris Best as well. Please remember to thank Martin if you are here in the chat. I do very much appreciate you for that, Martin, and I always appreciate when people say thank you as well. Damn it. Yeah, you queued yourself up there, Martin, didn't you? You really did. Alex says, Jade versus Bianca at Mania is what I want. I'm sad it's not happening. Maggie says, the only pie I'm interested in is steak pie. I like a good steak pie, to be fair. And HCar says, now I'll miss it. Well, it's one of those. I'm never going to be upset with anyone who's not a channel member. It is entirely optional. Okay, entirely optional. Most of what I'm trying to do here, the income is based on ad revenue. But I actually earn the most through channel memberships. Channel memberships earn slightly more than ad revenue, which earns slightly more than donations and contributions. So about a third of my income on YouTube comes from channel memberships. So thank you as always for that. The numbers of channel members continues to go up. And that's something that will genuinely help me get a mortgage. So thank you. Thank you once again. And now you get to see the ridiculousness is going to be that video. Spider-Boss says, I think Roman doesn't trust in The Rock. Roman has been betrayed before. He really doesn't trust in his family, and that's why he had to be acknowledged. Sean, I have not heard where SummerSlam is, but I do believe there are reports out there. Right, we have gone 10 minutes past the hour. Yes, Sean, I thought of opening a Patreon, but the thing is, if you're going to donate money on a Patreon, why not just donate money here where I can give you that content anyway? If that's something that you would be interested in a Patreon, but you can't necessarily do a YouTube channel membership, please do let me know. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate that. Alan says, Dwayne, do you smell what Colohue is cooking? KJ says, for Jessica, since I've been here, he's gotten many things right and got them first, such as Punk to AEW, Wyatt to WWE. Mr. Stumble says, do you think Cody will win at Mania, but he dusty finish will strip his title on Raw after Mania away, like what happened to his dad? Nope, I personally do not. I think he just wins the championship. We are going to wrap it up there. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you. We'll be back on Wednesday with PLE Wednesday, Thursday with Fun Fact Thursday. Tomorrow, if you're interested in that members only video where I teach people how to be The Rock. Hello, Dan. Sorry that I'm just skipping out. Nice to see you, though, as ever. And, of course, WTF Wrestling on Sunday. More spoiler warning on Friday. Until then, huge thank you to all of you for being with me here today. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.